Well, good morning from blustery Winnipeg. The snow started falling this morning at about 4:30 a.m. and we didn't get very much yet. I did check the weather radar, and there was something that sort of passed through. But the weatherman's still predicting snow, but they're not talking 60 centimeters like they were mentioning 3 days ago. Now they're down to about a total of 30 altogether, worst case scenario. But we'll see how it goes here. I noticed that some of my cameras are starting to sort of, you might say, frost over. I put fresh carrots out this morning. they're getting kind of covered over. I put them in a place where it looked like the wind was sort of blowing through and keeping it clear. But the carrots themselves are acting as a snow fence. For those of you who have had anything to do with blizzards, you'll know what a snow fence is. Anything can be a snow fence. Your car parked out in the driveway can be a snow fence. It'll slow the wind down, and the snow will sort of build up on the other side of it, and a big drift can form. Well, you remember that from last winter when you saw shots of my car outside there. Anyway, yeah, it's starting to get white again. Yeah, the weather is the news here in Winnipeg. Now, there's more news. There's some things that I want to remember to talk about. For instance, I wrote down on a little piece of paper here. I wrote down, "When I'm gone," and that's to remind me of what one of the viewers said. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that a little later. But yeah, I did come back to the model table yesterday, and I did repaint those boats. Oh, here's something interesting. At least it's interesting to me. You remember I was talking about the fact that YouTube is taking a long time to process. Well, today's episode is going to be edited out in Power Director, like I used to up to about 2 months ago when I started using the Adobe Premiere Pro. So I'm going to see if Power Director, because it seems to, like, let's say you have a 20-minute long video done in Power Director and the same file and length and everything done in Adobe. Adobe will process it, and it's a lot more wordy. There's a lot more bytes. It's a lot more stuff in it. And I was thinking that, yes, that's better, but maybe YouTube doesn't like it, and it's just taken them a lot longer to process my video into high definition. Now, this is just an experiment. So, and it was kind of funny. I started using it last night, and I had to think, now, how do I do this? You know, different things like inserting transitions and fade in, fade out, and all that kind of stuff. Where do I grab this to put it in the right place? And I had to learn all over again, almost. It came back pretty quick. Now, here's something else I did. I downloaded the free version of DaVinci Resolve. For those of you who are into this sort of thing, you might be interested. DaVinci Resolve has 2 versions. There's the free version, which won't render your video in 8K if you want to. So that's kind of useless to me, in a way. Or there's the paid version. And I'm thinking I might switch over to the paid version. And what I did was I canceled my subscription to Adobe Premiere Pro. And it will end, I think, on the 24th of this month will be the last day I can use Adobe Premiere Pro, which is a fantastic program, except you can only rent it. At the end of the year, you've paid almost as much as you would have paid for DaVinci, and you've got nothing. You know, you've got nothing except, you know, the fact that you're able to use it. Whereas with the DaVinci program, which is from the Black Magic people who make the Black Magic video cameras and so on. It's pretty high-end stuff, better than my Nikon. We'll shoot 12K video, which is really good. Useless to me though, because I got nothing to watch it on, and YouTube won't accept 12K yet. Anyway, I'm starting to really get off the subject here. It's supposed to be, oh, Missy's in the carrots. Okay, she almost got in the carrots. I thought I was going to have to run out there with a big stick. No, I wouldn't. I like Missy. All right, so as I've said before, it doesn't take much to get me off the subject, does it? I don't know how it's going to go here today. I thought that I would have the spray booth all moved over and my plastic sheet on the table, and I have my air hose plugged in right now, and nope, it's not happening yet. Anyway, let's roll back, and I'll show you what I did yesterday on those little boats, and then we'll try and get ourselves organized and do something here. I gotta have another sip of coffee. My voice is getting dried out here. No clunk. Now you'll remember that I accidentally painted these boats the 66 instead of the 19. Well, I have since redone them in the 19, and it's dry now. And I think what we're going to try to do, oh, and I also, if you remember where the self-locking tweezer had grabbed onto the thwart here, well, I touched that up with the this stuff, and I think we're ready to see. And I haven't tried it yet, just how well these are going to go together now that they've been painted. The fit is going to be a little bit on the snug side, more so than it was before. Now, what's making me think of that is I got a comment from our friend Vic in the UK, and he was saying that when he was talking about when I paint the top of the turret, where I had those holes that were a little bit too large, and then there was the pegs on the bottom of the catapult. Well, that's going to help take up the slack, if you know what I mean. Now this is going pretty good. Let me put the macro lens on here. This is actually fitting pretty good. I do have to think though, how am I going to glue them? I don't think I'd better use extra thin, because the extra thin has a tendency to run and dissolve the paint. And I've got two different kinds of paint going on here, so I think maybe I'll use CA. It just has to hold it in place. And I know that CA won't be as good as the extra thin, but at least I don't need to worry about it running then. So let me get the macro lens on and we'll get a close look here. And then we'll paint the rudder or something. Wonder how it would look if I painted the rudder the same brown as they'd. Yeah, that might look all right. Sort of a woody look, if you know what I mean, because the rudder probably was wood. Okay, when you get moved in really close like this, you can readily see that it's pretty crude. Now, all right, I'm thinking maybe just put a little bit of, just a little bit of CA along the edge on both sides here, and then put this in place. I don't think I want to let it try and do any wicking into if you know what I mean. And then we'll just Put some pressure on that. Now I don't want to break the rudder off. Okay, that's not too bad. Yeah, that went in good. Okay. Yeah, that went in really good. Okay, let's try the other one here. Well, it actually went together better than I originally had thought. Okay, enough poking around at it. I almost do not need to use any glue at all, but I think it might be a good idea to glue it in place. This is the CA medium, the homemade CA medium. Okay, I don't think that's going to fall out of there. And it looks like it's about as seated as it can possibly get. And I don't see anywhere where it's wicked up and blended the two paints. Let's try the other one now. This probably takes a couple of minutes to cure. Okay. Does it look like it's all the way down? I'm just going to have to take it off camera and squeeze it. I don't know if that helped or not, but yeah, that's going to be all right. Okay. Now, about the rudders. Okay, so here's what's happened. I've got the rudders done. But there are some very, very delicate things that I can do on camera with the macro lens, and it works out really good. But trying to do something like this when I've got my magnification hood on and I've got it up really, really close and I'm just sort of working away at it, it's too hard to keep everything in the field of view and in focus. And so I just went ahead and did them. Now I'll slip on the macro lens and we'll move in and I'll show you how it came out. It's acceptable. It'll look good at arm's length. Well, okay. There is absolutely nothing else we can do, as near as I can tell, on steps 9 and 10. Everything we can possibly do to kill time here so that I don't have to actually set up an airbrush. That sounds funny, doesn't it? Yeah, I can't really do anything else. So I'm going to spend the rest of this afternoon now cleaning up here. I got stuff all over the place, and get my spray booth adjusted because, yeah, for step 11, it's going to be a big change, a really big change, and it also will involve spraying. So, well, I guess we got to put in these 3 braces. Yeah. Well, it wants us to remove some portholes here. I wonder why. Huh. Anyway, so I'm just going to be going ahead and doing that this afternoon, and I don't know if I'll be doing any more videoing it today, or if it's going to be, we'll just see how it goes. Yeah. Well, as you can see, I didn't get done what I thought I was going to do. Story of my life. That's all right. It's a good life. One by one, my surveillance cameras are getting covered over. Won't be able. I got a feeling that I'm not going to be able to look around outside by the end of today. It's very windy out there. Every once in a while, you can actually feel a gust of wind, sort of. You might say shake the house. Well, it doesn't really shake it, but you can hear it rumbling anyway. Okay, so what is it that I want to talk about here? Okay. Let me sort of roll back almost exactly 4 years ago right now. I had gone to Kelowna to visit my mom, as it turns out, for the last time. Now what had happened was I had originally planned on going out in the beginning of April, and I was going to be there for a week or so, like I usually am. Like I usually was there about 5 days, and then I'd come back to Winnipeg, and then a month later I'd go out again, spend another 5 days or so. And the idea was, the doctor had already given Mom 6 months to live, months earlier already. In other words, she was in her 4th month, you might say, of the 6. And so when I went out there, at the first day I got there, things were pretty much the way they were the month before, but she was going downhill really fast. You could almost notice it daily. And it became pretty clear that if I came back here to Winnipeg and then tried to go out again, she was going to have to go into a care home. Now, at that time, we did not know that she was going to be having a stroke in about a month. It was about a month after I went out there. She had a stroke, and then that was the end. She died 6 days later after her stroke. But anyway, you're getting more information than you need. Got to get back to this. So when I was out there, all we could do is just sit and talk and visit. And her mind was still extremely keen, very keen, just like she was a teenager. And we'd visit and talk about all kinds of things, and she used to like to watch documentaries on TV and stuff like that. And but one of the other things that she used to like to do, and first you have to understand that I came from a very superstitious background, religious background. And religion, if you think about it, is superstition. And so once I realized that religion was superstition, I kind of walked away from it, you might say. But anyway, that's another story. So anyway, one of the things that my mom used to like to do is she had a large clipboard beside her chair. And she would jot down different things on the clipboard as she was thinking about them. And the idea was, I think in her mind, was that she would be able to go back and look at these different little things that she'd written down that were of importance to her. And when she was getting to the place where she realized that the end was really close now, she kind of glanced at her clipboard, and then she looked at me, and there was a bit of a pause, and she says, "I guess all of this is meaningless now." And at that time, I thought to myself, well, I don't want to be telling you it always was meaningless because it was superstition, but that's not what that was not the important thing. The important thing was, and I said, "No, Mom, it's not meaningless, because it was meaningful to you at the time, so it was worthwhile." Okay. One of the viewers said something to the effect of, and I can't remember how he worded it, but he realized that when he's gone, all his models and stuff like that, people were going to throw them out. And I got to admit that I've had that same thought often about what I'm doing here. Nobody's going to want this stuff. Nobody's going to want my Bismarck and my Hood and my Rodney and possibly the Iowa in that big case over there. Nobody's going to want it. It's not museum quality, so you're not going to be able to sell it. And it's only important to me right now, and I'm enjoying doing it. And to that viewer who sounded a little bit depressed, maybe realizing that it's all going to get thrown out, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. That's okay. You know, we're having a good time doing this at the time, and that makes it worthwhile. Yeah. I had something else I was going to say along that line, but I can't remember what it was now. Anyway, yeah. Oh, yeah. Now I remember. I was thinking I should go to the lumberyard this summer, if it ever comes, and get some plywood and make a bunch of custom-made. Well, I'd make 4 custom-made cases that would fit the hulls of these 4 ships, so that they could be later removed from the big display case and placed in a special box so they could be transported. But then I also realized that likely what's going to be happening is whoever cleans my place out in the future, they're not going to want to be bothered with this stuff, and they're probably going to think, I don't want this big case in my house. And like I say, it's not museum quality, so it's not going to end up in a museum. But that doesn't matter. I've had a good time, and am having a good time making this now. So it is worthwhile, even though I do fully realize it will all be gone when I'm gone. I don't know. Am I making sense here? I think I am. Anyway, back to Kelowna. 4 years ago, I was in the middle of a project in my workshop. I think it had something to do with it had something to do with pen turning anyway, and I think I was trying to make my own acrylic for turning pens and stuff like that, sort of like the sprue pen that I keep talking about. It was that kind of thing. And so I made a bit of an announcement, you might say, to the viewers at that time. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link to that particular video that I made that day 4 years ago. I'll put it in the description of today's video, and if you want to see it, you'll see a much more chubby me sitting on a mobility scooter making making an announcement, sort of apologizing as to why we're not going to be doing what I said I was going to do. And that's the story of my life. Yeah, life is what happens to you while you're making other plans. Okay. I might actually be cutting today's video off right now. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think I'm gonna cut it off and then try and do what I said I was going to do yesterday. Just sort of get everything ready to airbrush. I think if I psych myself up to this, I'm going to actually enjoy it. Oh my goodness! I just sort of hear the wind and everything rustling out there, and you can't see it, but I'm looking out the window, and it's a blizzard, and it's only it only started about 5 hours ago, so it's supposed to last for 3 days. If the power goes out, there's not going to be any YouTube video today. Anyway, yeah, thanks for watching, everybody, and putting up with my reminiscing and doing very, very little on the model today. But I did get our little lifeboats painted, and very carefully here, Ron. Very carefully. Okay, can you see them there? Oh yeah. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.